My client just messaged me the other day and said she stopped her toddler's hitting by more than 70% in a matter of weeks. I want to ask you, if your toddler's doing something tricky again and again and again, like in her example, he kept hitting the dog, do you know how to shift that without having to resort to threats, yelling, timeout, punishments, things like that, like in a respectful parenting way? Do you know how to handle it? Do you know how to set boundaries? Do you know how to not only set boundaries, but help them get over that behavior in a matter of weeks in a way that feels simple and good for both of you? Because if you don't, let me share with you exactly what she did, because this is what I teach students like literally day after day. That were really important for her. Mind you, she has a toddler and a newborn because she just had a baby less than a month ago. We're setting really clear and consistent boundaries around the hitting and then getting curious about what was actually going on so that she could shift it from happening again and again, which is the biggest thing that I'm always telling parents when it comes to tantrums, tricky behaviors, running, hitting, spitting, anything like that that you don't want your toddler necessarily doing. You've got to figure out why they're doing it, because that's going to change how you show up and approach it, right? So the first thing was she just was setting really clear boundaries. Instead of being wishy-washy, instead of coming in and being like calm sometimes and yelling sometimes, frustrated sometimes, and being like all over the place, toddlers need consistent boundaries. Hey, you can't hit the dog like that. Oh, I see you're getting too excited. I'm going to block your hand. And just, that was it. And then if it got to be too much, moving her toddler away from the dog. Hey, we're going to be all done petting him now. Okay, we can try again later, right? No yelling, no threats, no like being over the top about it, just like setting a clear and consistent boundary. And then number 2, getting curious. And she realized when she was curious, she went through the framework, she listened to the trainings. This is the prep piece of my framework that I talk about in the Toddler Tantrums Guide. There are kind of 3 categories of prep that you can look at, right? That could be contributing to why your toddler is doing a certain behavior, why they're having tantrums all the time. For her example, why he kept hitting the dog. And so for her, she got curious and she realized like, oh, he's just getting too excited. He sees us petting the dog. He really wants to love the dog. He's just not aware of his body yet. So when he gets too excited, he starts kind of whacking at the dog a little bit, right? She started to notice that. Now, using that information, she went through that prep part of the framework and asked like, okay, what else does he need to learn? What skills does he need? How can I shift this? How can I give him an appropriate outlet for that behavior, which is all in that part of the framework. And she started to teach him like, hey, when we're really, really excited, we can come over here and we can do wiggle shakes and we can dance and we can jump up and down and we can sing a puppy song, right? And then we can take a deep breath and we can pet the puppy kindly. And we can do it really gently. And she started practicing that with him, which doesn't even have to be this whole thing. Like, again, mind you guys, she literally was like 9 months pregnant and then had a newborn while she was working through this process. She was not messing around with like this whole parenting thing that took like 1,000,000 hours a day. It was like 3 minutes a day of practicing this, singing a silly puppy song, doing a silly wiggle dance, petting the dog gently, petting stuffed animals gently to practice, her modeling petting the dog really slowly. And that hit on that prep piece of the framework, which was giving him the skills they needed, giving him some appropriate outlets to share his excitement that wasn't hitting the dog, and teaching him like, hey, what can I do here, right? That's what it's really about, because instead of sending him to timeout, hey, you're being mean to the dog, go to timeout until you can calm down, right? Or if you can't be nice to the dog, then you're not getting to watch TV tonight. I've told you before, why don't you listen? That wouldn't have helped anything because it wouldn't have gotten to the core of the behavior. This is how she literally shifted it. 70%, right? He's still a toddler. He's still learning. We can't expect them to be like 100% right away. But 70% in a matter of weeks, that's huge, you guys. Imagine how much easier her day is as a mom now, having a newborn and a toddler, not having to be on top of him all day long because she shifted that. That's the power of knowing, being able to look at your toddler's behavior and use this framework to teach them how to move past it as a respectful parent.